Hello fellow old schoolers, and welcome to some more old school magic here. Now there's been a bit of a blessing here, lo and behold. Peter, the other guy that had so many recordings from the previous tournament, the Eel Castle Cup 2021, has finally succeeded in sending me some of the games. So we're going to follow his adventures through the tournament here from his perspective. He's on Factory Control. We saw another version of Factory Control in the previous video in the top 8. We've just seen 2 top 8 games. This is another version of the Factory Control, and we're going to cycle back here into the Swiss, into his first few games, and yeah, just follow how it went for him and from his perspective. Factory Control, you see it here. This is actually a picture I won in another tournament back in 2019, I think. And that was Composition A. Factory Control is sort of like a control deck, but instead of, and it resembles robots quite a bit, it is a new deck that's just appeared in 2021, at least in the old school scene here, and some players are leaning into it at this point. It uses the Mythos Factory, and it uses copy artifacts to copy them. So it resembles robots quite a bit. It does make use of a few su-shis, but it's taking out the Triskelions and put in counter magic instead, just to increase its control of the game. Now, the point of this is that when you have a bunch of factories, like 4 factories, they get better and better the more you have, because they can pump each other. But if you use copy artifacts, instead of having the 4 usual factories, you'll have 8 in your deck, and they can pump each other into insane sizes actually. You also combine this with Maces of Ith to make whatever the opponent blocks, to untap that and then pump the other factories further. So that's one of the key ingredients of this deck. It also uses Icy Manipulators just to gain control of the board. It uses Swords to Plowshares and Disenchants, and from black it has the Abyss and Mind Twist and Demonic Tutor. And the Abyss is very good in this deck because it won't touch any of the factories, and it won't touch, obviously, if he has su-shis, and sometimes his archetype uses su-shis as well, as far as I can see. When most of your creatures, or all your creatures, are artifact creatures, and most of them are Mythos Factories and copies of Mythos Factories, obviously things like balance will become that much better, right? Because your creatures won't be creatures when you cast the balance, so it'll just clear out the board, and then you can activate the factories and just go straight in. I wonder if he makes use of Wrath of God. Perhaps that could be a tech as well in this particular archetype, I don't know. Peter is not up for showing his deck tech. It is kept a secret at this point, which is fine by me, but so this is just me going on about my impressions of the deck from watching it at that particular tournament. As for sideboard, I don't know what he has, but the deck is white, blue and black. That's the colors that it utilizes, and leaning the most into blue, with blue power, copy artifacts, counterspell, mana drain, recall, stuff like that. It's coming up against Power-Monolith. Now, the Power-Monolith is an old combo archetype in the old school scene. It revolves around the basalt monolith in combination with power artifact. When you combine these, you can actually untap your basalt monolith for cheaper than the mana you gain when you tap it. So you can just use this an infinite amount of time and gain infinite mana. You can use all that mana just to fireball the other guy out for like a bazillion damage, or you can Brain Geyser him out for the same. You can also use books for free, and a spicy card this deck utilizes is Aladdin's Lamp. Now usually this is way too much of a mana cost for its effect, but when you have infinite mana, it's just a tutor each turn. So it just makes you get the combination in that you need 3 cards, right? You need the Basalt Monolith, you need the Power Artifact, and you need some sort of expel just to blast the other guy away. So having the Aladdin's Lamp down, as soon as you get your infinite mana, you'll just say, well, I want to draw a fireball, use enough of your infinite mana, make X the same amount as the cards you have left in your deck, shuffle through it, get the fireball, and then fireball for bazillion damage. So it is a combo, primarily blue, a bit of black and a bit of white, I think, combo deck here. Now, as for the matchup here, I haven't seen this game before. What I know about Factory Control and the Power-Monolith is just from watching the games play out in other tournaments, or well, Factory Control, that's actually the first time I see them. But the Power-Monolith, I think the player there, he won Dominion Day with this particular deck, so it's no slouch at all. It is a good combo deck. I think both sides makes use of the Abyss, and there will be dead draws in this matchup because Power-Monolith doesn't use any creatures, it just relies on the combination just to make the kill in a one blast. And well, Factory Control, all his creatures are artifacts, and most are factories, right? So there'll be dead draws before sideboard. I do think Factory Control might be the, well, it is a tough matchup for Power-Monolith, right? Because you have the counter magic to go up against. So as soon as you get your combination out, you also need counter backup, because otherwise you just counter your Expel for a gazillion. And he can Factory Control also makes use of disenchants, so he can just like disenchant the combination away, like perhaps allow the basalt monolith, but as soon as a power artifact comes down in combination, well, you just disenchant as a fast effect, and the other guy won't have his combination and lose both cards. So I think at least before sideboard, Factory Control is it's not an easy matchup for a Power-Monolith. He excels against stuff that can't easily remove his artifacts and that can't counter, like some aggro decks and mid-range decks that he can just board wipe the creatures away, not do much until he gets his combination and then just win like that. No matter how many lives he has, he can just explode. And yeah, I played against this deck a bunch of times, and it is there's always a lot of suspense coming up against that particular archetype, because you never know when he'll pounce. As soon as he gets his combination, he just like tick, tick, and then you're dead. At least if you don't have counter magic. If you are a control player against him, I think the best call of action is just keep a counter spell online all the time. Always have 2 blue mana up, at least when you're in the mid game. Because yeah, better go slow and then at least be able to counter him if he just explodes with his 1000 points damage fireballs. So that's the matchup. That's the prediction for the first match. I think the advantage is Factory Control. After sideboard, we'll see. Let's see how the first match goes. Let's go. So the guys are gearing up for their match here. And we have Peter on Factory Control in the bottom of the recording here. We're following the game from his perspective. And his opponent in the top with that beautiful playmat from Dominion Day is a champion of Dominion Day, Trolls, on his Power-Monolith deck. And as said in the deck tech video, he's one of the only guys I know who makes use of the Aladdin's lamp in his deck. So it was really fitting that he was the guy who won that particular playmat at that tournament. Almost seemed like destiny. Okay, so we can actually see the hand of Peter here. There was a Mox and a copy artifact. You see his hand in the bottom here. And there's a Silverstone as well, but a lot of dead draws, at least in this matchup. There are 2 the Abyss in that starting hand, and a Swords to Plowshares as well. They won't do him much in this matchup because Trolls, he has no creatures as far as I know. Oh, so Peter mulligans here. We'll just cut a bit forward while he shuffles through his deck one more time. There wasn't any mana either, just a Sapphire and a Silverstone. This is a better hand. It has still a bit unstable in its mana actually. I have the Black Lotus, and there's a Mox on the far left there. And the Silverstone, I suppose you can crack the Lotus to get the Silverstone out, but not a good thing to do. It's a bit of a waste of a Lotus. I wonder if he dares to mulligan one more time. He's already starting at 6 cards here. Will he go down to 5? You see the hand of Trolls at the top there. He's mulliganing as well. Okay, so we have mulligans on both sides. Okay, Peter electing to keep that hand. It is a very unstable hand, but he has a disenchants. I wonder if Peter knows what he's against here. Those disenchants will be worth their weights in gold to have 2 of those, whereas any Swords to Plowshares he draws into are not very usable. So plenty of dead draws for Peter actually in this first match. Now Troll's second hand being drawn here, plenty of mana, and there's a Mind Twist and a Power Artifact and a Mox as well. A bit mana flooded actually, but I guess he can get a Mind Twist out for a bunch. Who's on the play? I didn't see who won. Okay, it's Peter. That's a red Mox. Now will he play the Lotus? Suppose he could disenchant with it or feign a counterspell. I don't think these guys know what they're against here, but Trolls is usually on his beloved Power-Monolith archetype, so Peter likely anticipates such a brew. Okay, Underground Sea and a Mox coming out of Peter. Time walking immediately here. Coming out of Trolls, I mean. Time walking immediately. For a second land drop. Now he has double blue mana, can actually counter. Ooh, but Mind Twisting for 2. What a start from him. Yeah, should you crack the Lotus just to disenchant the Mox? Not likely. Takes those 2 cards. Ooh, that's pretty damn brutal. Getting the Felverstone here. No mana for Peter. Yeah. Cracking the Lotus for a regrowth here. That's, I suppose that makes sense, and doesn't even have to pay with that ruby. He can just, oh yeah, he has. Then he can play the Felverstone, so at least he has. Okay, there's a City of Brass from Trolls, so Peter can use that Felverstone for anything he wants. Oh, Brain Geyser from Trolls here. 2 cards. So his Mind Twist is for 2 and Brain Geyser for 2. Pretty awesome start for a combo deck. Ooh, there's a Library of Alexandria though. So finally some mana from Peter, but he has been Mind Twisted, so it will take a while before that library is online. It seems like he might be choosing to save up for 7 cards. He knows the other guy's Mind Twist has already been used. I suppose it could be recalled. There's actually a mana drain on the hand of Trolls on the Power-Monolith. So Power-Monolith will usually just get card advantage as an Abyss. It's a dead draw, but Trolls doesn't know this. He doesn't know what he's against here, so just getting it out. He has 2 blue mana up for his mana drain. I think Peter is within range at this point, isn't he? Should be. Pretty soon, anyway. There's some Mox on his hand and the City of Brass. Choosing not to play them, saving up for the Library of Alexandria, figuring that the odds of the other guy Mind Twisting him is pretty damn low, because the Mind Twist has been used, so he needs to be recalled right back. Okay, Counterspell on Trolls' hand. Now the Library of Alexandria is online. He can't do anything against that. He needs a Strip Mine or a Chaos Orb to remove that library. I don't think the Power-Monolith has any single target or has any lane destruction spells apart from those 2. So yeah, library might bring Peter back into this game. It will take a while, but Power-Monolith actually has enough mana at this point to get his combo going. He just needs to draw into it. We know he has a power artifact in his hand. Okay, now Peter is starting to play his card. He can't play too many cards though, because then the library will be offline. But he's still at 7 cards here, so it's fine. So we can disenchant in Trolls' turn and still be able to draw with that library. Okay, there is that Basalt Monolith, and I do think Trolls had a power artifact in his hand, choosing not to play it. Oh yeah, it requires 3 blue mana perhaps, so then he can't counter. So perhaps he's waiting for another blue mana so that he can counter any counter spells. Really a waiting game here. As soon as Trolls gets that combo going, he'll have infinite mana. So it'll only take a set, an X spell, and he will win the game. But Peter does have some disenchants at instant speed in hand. Peter shouldn't ever tap out in this matchup. Against Power Artifact, the goal is to stop the combination. Copying, what's he copying? Copying the Basalt Monolith here. No, copying the Sol Ring. That makes far more sense, I think. Does he need that much mana, though? Shouldn't he wait for a factory with that copy artifact? Peter knows his deck far better, though, so he must be considering that he needs the brute mana, and he likely doesn't want to use those Cities of Brass too much. There it is. The power artifact has dropped the combination in an attempt to start the combination here for infinite mana. A disenchant has been cast in response from Peter. Disenchanting as a fast effect, the Basalt Monolith gets countered by Trolls here. And there's another disenchant getting in and saving Peter's bacon. Using both disenchants as a fast effect here, but it was very wise of him to keep that much mana untapped. Now Troels is blocked, and yeah, Peter has some time until Troels can get the combination going one more time. Close call though. I can't stress enough how important it is to go slow against this Power-Monolith deck and always keep your answers ready and online, because he can explode at the drop of a hat. He's casting something big. It's a Brain Geyser. Huge one. It's for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. Yeah, that's pretty damn huge getting that in. And look at it, he has those 2 Cities of Brass untapped still. So this is so he can counter or disenchant in Troels' turn in case he needs it. Dropping a Factory here and a Mox Pearl. Tapping out completely here. That's very dangerous actually. Getting down a su-shi though, and you get Swords to Plowshare. Yeah, there haven't been any Swords to Plowshares out of Troels yet, so yeah, now Peter is tapped out. I'm not sure about that final play. I think he should have kept his resources untapped. Perhaps he has no answer. You can see his hand at the bottom there. Try to go in for the kill, but this is an opening for Troels. I suppose Peter has just blocked his entire combination, so the odds of him having another go with those 3 cards is pretty damn low. But a recall, ooh, a Wheel of Fortune though. Yeah, and Peter is tapped out. So yeah, Troels gets right back into it here. Drawing a full hand, so that Brain Geyser didn't do much. It netted Peter a Factory and a Mox Pearl, but that was it. Now Troels has a full hand again. If he can make the combination drop now, that's game. Full hand, he might. The moat is coming out. Oh, block the Factories, I suppose. And the su-shis in their tracks. So we see the quite awesome defenses out of Troels right here, with both an Abyss and a moat out against other people's creatures. A lot of mana on the hand of Peter. He did draw into a counterspell there though. So he's safe with that if he keeps untapped. He can't get in. I suppose Peter needs to address that moat at some point, otherwise he can't make the kill. He does have a Fireball though. At least one, but the Factories, yeah, as I said, they can't get in. But he's now within range of the Library of Alexandria, Peter is, so yeah. The advantage is still on his side. Time walking here, that's just to make it possible to draw from the library one more time, I think. Digging for an answer against that moat so I can get in and poke with the Factory. Sorring coming out. So 2 Sorrings on the side of Peter, one copied and one of his own. It's really back and forth here. There's like these sudden reverse. Ooh, a book here. I think Peter should counter this. And he does so here. Okay, Troels wants to know how many counterspells are left in Peter's graveyard, I think. Then he counters the counterspell, so we have a bit of a counter war here. Now will Peter counter one more time? That's the main thing. I think he should. I think he needs to block that book, but perhaps he has a mana drain in hand. He could use that. Now he chooses to let it slide. It's debatable. I suppose you could keep the mana drain in hand just to block the other guy's killing combination, but still, that book, man, it will counter the library. Now both players have a draw engine going. And those 4 mana from the books, it might as well be free, because he's doing it at the end step of Peter each turn, likely. Yeah, at the end step here. Taps with the book, draws 2 cards. So, library versus a Yimblade Tomb in a control face-off here. Counter magic and removal and defenses. Really back and forth here. The question is, can Peter get rid of that moat and start to grind the other guy down, or will Troels save up a hand with enough counter magic to get his combination off and just fireball Peter off the face of the planet? Another su-shi coming down. Still there's that moat. But the army is growing on the side of Peter. He has 2 Factories and a su-shi at this point, staring towards down on the other side of that moat. Here comes the Chaos Orb though. Yeah, he'll likely try to Chaos Orb the moat. That's a key play here. Should do it immediately. Trolls will likely draw as a fast effect. No? I think he should. He could have disenchanted the Chaos Orb if we drew into that. Okay, here it is. Very crucial flip here. And a slow motion. Perfect hit. So the floodgates are open. The moat has been destroyed, and here now the factories and next turn the su-shi can get in. Both factories coming over here. 2 disenchants. So much defense on the side of Trolls here, just blasting the factories away. Not even worried about the su-shi, I suppose. Okay, so Peter has still to lay a single hand on Trolls, now drawing at Peter's end step here. He can't seem to get through all those formidable defenses here. There's a basalt monolith. Okay, going for the combination again. I suppose Peter has a lot of stuff tapped anyway. Does have mana untapped though. Okay, mana draining the basalt monolith here. Not wanting anything to do with that combination. Okay, Trolls allows it. It's in the graveyard. What next? Time Twister. Another draw 7 here. Yeah, okay. It will provide all Trolls' combinations right back into his deck here. Getting countered though, he counters the Time Twister. Trolls draws with the book as a response, trying to see if he can get a counter spell with that. Doesn't get one. Okay, so the attempt has been denied. I think the Basalt Monolith was a bait, trying to bait counter magic out of Peter, getting the Time Twister in so he can draw into an answer on the su-shi. But he must have another answer, right? He's used disenchant on the factories. No, he hasn't. Okay, 4 damage in. I thought he would for sure have something against that su-shi. But he probably reckoned that he would draw something from the Time Twister. This wasn't allowed though. So drawing with the book, he does. Both players are drawing a heck of a lot of cards here, arming up with counter magic and removal against each other. So she's coming in one more time. Another su-shi. Okay, yeah. Since the removal of that moat, the monsters have just started. Robots have started pouring in. It's 8 points of damage, staring Trolls down at this point. He needs a balance or a Wrath of God or something if he plays with it. It obviously must play with a balance. Draws again with the book. Can he get an out in time? And can he have enough counter backup to make it work? A lot of mana getting tapped here. Fireballing both out. It's a fireball for 10. Getting countered immediately here. Trolls can't counter back. I think that was his last ditch attempt at staving off his doom. Coming in for 8 here. Trolls putting Trolls down to 4 points of life. He needs something to remove both su-shis at this point. Or it's Curtain Call or a moat or something here. Drawing again with the book. Playing something? What is that? Oh, it's a power artifact. It's a Sword to Plowshares. But it won't be enough. I mean, there are 2 su-shis there, so you can remove one of them with the Sword to Plowshare and the other one will get in for 4 points of damage. That is 1-0 for factory control. So we're gearing up for round number 2 and these guys will sideboard for a bit. So, halftime break here. Both players know what they're against at this point, and I think Peter on factory control, he'll likely take in even more answers against Trolls' Power-Monolith combination. That means he will put in his Divine Offering. He'll likely have 4 of those in his sideboard, or at least 3. That's pretty common in this day and age when you play white. He might also put in red blasts and blue blasts to block counter spells and block the finishing fireball from Trolls. So that will allow Peter with far more answers in the sideboard, and he has a lot of dead draws to take out, right? He has the Abyss, and perhaps also take out his Swords to Plowshares to make room for these new answers. As for Troels' part, well, he knows what he's against as well. He also plays white, so he'll likely take in a bunch of artifact removal as well. So that means increased divine offerings against the factories and su-shis and stuff like that. He might take in red blasts as well to win the counter war. Now, what could throw a spanner in the works here is that Troels plays without creatures, and sometimes people tend to make transformation sideboards in the second round. That means what could really upset this constellation is if Troels has taken out his combination here and just put in a bunch of Serra Angels and su-shis and lions and stuff like that, just to try to overwhelm the other guy in anticipation of him taking his Abyss and Swords to Plowshares out. So it will be a bit of a guessing game. We might have a situation where Peter won't take all his Swords to Plowshares out because he doesn't know if there'll be creatures in after sideboard. So depending on if someone has done this, I think if Troels has just made a transformation like that and Peter is not aware of it, Troels can make an upset here and just trample him down. But if he hasn't and it's more of the same, I think that advantage goes to factory control again, because he simply has more answers now and less dead draws. I mean, Troels has also become strengthened by his sideboard, but yeah, I think factory control is even more strengthened if it's just a status quo. Both players are playing this matchup the way I feel is correct. That means Peter is going slow. He keeps his mana untapped most of the time as much as he can to have counterspells and other defensive measures when the combination goes off. On the other hand, Troels is saving up counterspells and counter magic and to try and insist on the finishing play. So we'll likely see something similar here, where both players are like building up their resources, and then we see this firework of counter wars where Troels tries to get in with his combination and Peter tries to block him, and it will all depend on who has the most counter magic and answers in that particular regard. So yeah, my anticipation here is that factory control is still has the advantage here, but there's this caveat that if Troels has made a complete transformation sideboard, he might take Peter by surprise here and overrun him with an entirely different deck here. So we'll see how it evolves.
So this is match number 2 of this control-ish setup or matchup here. We can see their hands. I hope they show up on the recording as well. Pretty nice. It'll be interesting to see what they put in. Underground Sea into a Mox Pearl from Troels. Entered with an Underground Sea. No. City of Brass and a couple of Moxen. Okay, good starts from both players here. We have a Serra Angel on the hand of Peter here. I think he sideboarded that in. Probably took the Abyss out. Now I wonder if Troels has done the same. Ooh, Ancestral Recall coming out here. Getting mana drained though. There's a counterspell on the hand. Yeah, he counterspells the mana drain. So starting off the second match here with a counter war. Very thematic for this matchup. So the Ancestral Recall gets resolved and draws into a Black Lotus here. And he has a Blue Blast in hand. Probably in there to stop the X spells. Divine Offering there. Drew into that. So factory control pulling ahead from the get-go here, but both players have deployed a ton of counter resources already. Su-shi and a Serra Angel on the side. He can play both, but he electing to keep here to stay back. I think he's waiting for some counter backup. He knows it'll just get Swords to Plowshare. He probably needs something as well. Felverstone. He needs. He has a Divine Offering. He doesn't want to tap out. He needs something to stop that push. If Troels puts down his combination. Second su-shi here and a Serra Angel. Still keeping back here. Suppose he could use the Lotus and the Mox and the Felverstone to cast an Angel and then still have mana up to Divine Offering as an instant. He does so here. Okay. Serangel coming out. Likely getting crushed immediately. Sorcerer Plowshare coming down. An argument could be had to play the su-shi first, just to draw the fire. Then get the Serangel in the second round, but doesn't matter that much. Probably Torvalds has artifact removal in hand as well. Does have a counterspell in hand. Oh, Demonic Tutor here. From Peter. Oh, what to pick? Perhaps a Brain Geyser or Library. Has quite a bunch of cards in hand. Could take a Mind Twist as well. No, it's a Library. He even shows it here. That was a tutor target. So it makes sense. Oh, but that's a Strip Mine from Torvalds. Just kept that in hand. Didn't show it. I was pretty nifty. So I can just crack that lower as soon as it got in. Okay, su-shi comes. So he has made some sort of transformation sideboard as well. Putting those creatures in there in anticipation of the other guy taking his creature out. Oh, copying the su-shi here. There's 2 su-shis at this point. Oh, but I think that's a timed Divine Offering. Yeah, Divine Offering on the su-shi as the copy artifact is played. So that makes, yeah, the su-shi, the copy artifact has to pick another target at this point, as the su-shi is removed before it can target it. He'll likely copy either the Felver Stone or the Sol Ring. Probably the Sol Ring, right? He has so many Cities of Brass. Oh, yeah, an argument could be made for both. Factory coming down. Still a couple of su-shis in hand and keeping those disenchants ready in case there's any combination coming out. Red Blasts in hand on towards the side. Won't do him much good against that su-shi though. Drew into a disenchant, I think. So he can disenchant and then Red Blast any counter magic. No counter spells from Peter. He doesn't have any. He only has disenchants. And a Blue Blast. Okay, so far every attempt has been barely blocked by both players. Here's another su-shi coming out of Peter, and he still keeps a disenchant and Blue Blast mana up, so that he can do both in a single turn. Disenchant any basalt monolith if Torvalds tries to get in with his combination. Su-shi comes lumbering over for 4 points of damage here. Okay, it's a Felver Stone. Getting a moat out. Yeah, just to block the su-shi, but there's a disenchant. The disenchant gets countered though. And the counterspell gets Red Blasted. Didn't Trolls have a Blue Blast? I think he should use it here. If he has it, no. He might not have had it. Okay, so the moat gets removed and the su-shi can get in again. For another 4 points of damage here. And again, and a factory comes in, putting Trolls down to 2 points of life. Really rushing in here. With a disenchant and a Blue Blast as backup. Mind twisting his hand. And then, okay, then he forfeits the game. He had a Red Blast. Oh yeah, that wouldn't have helped him against the disenchant and a Red Blast from Peter, so the moat got destroyed. So after some close fought counter wars here, those su-shis finally carried Peter further into the Swiss, winning over the champion of Dominia Day in this particular match. We'll catch up to him later on. From now, I think I'll cycle back into a few other matchups I've recorded from the Swiss of this particular tournament. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.